Jeff, let's talk some football with an NFL great. Hall of Famer Carl Eller joins the show. Carl, thank you so much for the time today.
Well, I'm very appreciative of the having me on. Thank you.
We love to get to talk to you. We'll get to the pork rinds and the NFL alumni shortly, but your own journey is also rather fascinating. If I could take you back, Jeff and I actually had to look this up. You were drafted for the NFL and the AFL. How did you decide which league you were going to play in?
Well, I went to the NFL because I wanted to go with the Vikings, and I was kind of surprised when Buffalo drafted me, and I didn't have a lot of information on those guys, but they were very nice, and they wanted me, but they were still new at that time. This took all the way back to the early '60s, so. I wanted to be in Minnesota, and so I chose Minnesota. The guy was giving me a kind of he said, are you seriously, would you consider us if we draft? And I couldn't tell him I was kind of thinking about the Vikings already, but that's where I chose the Vikings.
Carl, I know that you were already in Minnesota as a member of the Minnesota Golden Gophers. But you get drafted by two teams where it's a bit cold. If one of the teams had been Miami or some other team that would have been in the South, would you have chosen them over Minnesota?
I'm not sure I would have, but it was two cold teams, so I didn't have much choice in that respect.
So you get to play 16 seasons in the NFL, 225 games, and you're a part of the Purple People Eaters defense. What's it like to be a part of something so special that the nickname lives on long after your days on the playing field?
Well, I played with first of all, the team was special, and I played with some special guys. They were really, great guys. Jim Marshall, we went through a period. They were kind of built up the team. The team started in 1960. I joined them in '64. Jim Marshall, number 70, was the only player there that remained, and I was on the other end. And we had this thing, meet at the quarterback, was kind of where we started. He was on one end, and I was on the other. So that's how we started. And Gary Lawson came along, and of course, Alan Page just broke all the records, and we stayed together for a long time.
And one of those people on those Purple People Eaters was obviously you with the nickname of Moose. So we got to ask, how did you come up with the nickname Moose?
Oh, man, that nickname, it stuck with me, but it came from really playing on the sandlots in my high school days. One of the guys, and I remember him very well, his name was Charlie. He was kind of a bystander on the playground, and then we would make up football teams, and everybody, I would carry the ball, the big guy, even as a young guy. I would carry the ball, and he said, there, he runs like a big old moose. I had never even heard of a moose going up in North Carolina. I didn't know what it was, but the name stuck.
And following your playing career, you had your own journey. You founded a group of substance abuse centers. You helped the league develop substance abuse policies. I saw a quote you said, I've lived all the things I'm talking about. I've experienced it. Can you talk about your journey after you left the playing field and how you were able to start helping people?
Well, that was a big move for me. I had my own problems with various substances, and the league really had no idea at that time. I thought they were kind of naive, you know what I mean? And so I tried to help them start a program, and I did. We started a program, and we actually helped some of the guys get help, go through their treatment, which I had gone through myself. It's kind of, you start with that and you think, well, I'll hang out with the guys and I'll be one of the guys. And the drug dealers, they really like football player, professional guys. That's somebody they really become attached to, and feed your ego and all that stuff, and it just overtakes you, and before you know, you're having problems with it. And I really thought it was a horrible journey. But I thought, because a couple of the guys in the league, I knew I wanted to help them find a way out the same as I had. And I went to the commissioner, who was Roselle at that time, and said, "Hey, man, listen, guys, and you got to keep that stuff discreet. You don't want to go all over the newspapers and everywhere, and privacy and all that stuff." And so that's what I tried to do. And eventually it gets out anyway for, short time. But, I helped some guys and started my own treatment center, and it was just great success. And I'm really proud of that. So thank you for asking.
Carl, you seem to have been a champion for a lot of causes, and especially causes related to former NFL players. You were the lead plaintiff in a lawsuit against the NFL and accused them of not adequately caring for the players. You've been a champion for raising awareness for CTE. Where does this come from? Is this from your parents? Is this from some other place that you feel that it's not just about playing football, it's about caring for the athlete?
Well, I think the athlete is very special. I'm still on that journey. I don't mean special in a way that has to be treated special, except that we see the athlete on the football field, and that's kind of it. And I think the journey is much broader than that. The athlete, and I learned so much as an athlete, not only just to help other athletes, but to help society in general. And I've had a great passion for that, the whole time. And I still do, but of course I'm not as active as it was because it was a long time ago. But boy, I think the athlete has so much to add to the community, and we are just missing it. Like we're in Grace, they do a lot. They help the athletes after they retire, take them to their appointments and stuff like that. That's really important. People don't see that. So I'm still involved to some extent. Like today, we've done this for a number of years, sacks for sacks. And of course, the defensive end, you go for those sacks, and they're trading that for sacks. It's a big, big deal. It helps a lot of people. And of course, the participants can win some prizes too. They can win $5,000 and a year of the programs. And I got some of them here with me now, and they're just really good, really delicious and bold. So maybe that answers your question a little bit. But I've had this passion for a long, long time. So thanks.
Well, that leads to one of the reasons that you're here. You just mentioned pork rinds. I guess you're snacking away while you're interviewing. One of the reasons that we wanted to have you on, and we've had some of your fellow players on in previous years, is Pork Rind Appreciation Day and what it symbolizes, what it's important for. Can you tell us a little bit about what Pork Rind Appreciation Day is and how it relates to your continuing to champion for former players?
Well, the Pork Rind Appreciation Day we've been associated with the Hall of Fame and the Super Bowl for about 14 years now, and so that the day is really big for us. And it's snacks for sacks, or sacks for sex. Sacks for snacks. I'm sorry, sweepstakes, and it's real counting the sacks. Trade them for snacks, and the Pork Rind Appreciation Day.com is where you can find more information about this. And it's entering, you can enter by picking any team you believe will get those sacks, who has the most sacks. And so that's where they can win. But the contestant will also win $5,000 and a year of the Pork Rind. So it's a great to enter. You just go on the Pork Rind Appreciation Day.com, and that's where you get all of your information.
Yeah. Well, so that Pork Rind Appreciation Day, now we know how we can enter. We know how we can win. And Jason and I will be talking about it a little more during the show and afterwards. But the reason for it is the Gridiron Greats Assistant Fund, which is to help retired players who have suffered injuries that may not have been taken care of. And can you tell us a little bit about what it was like for the player of your generation? We all see the current generation, the players making millions of dollars. That wasn't your generation, despite how hard you worked and how much time that you put in. Can you tell us what it was like to play back then and the travails that an athlete from your generation goes through and why the Gridiron Greats Assistant Fund is so important?
Well, it's important, and you hit on some key points. The salaries are certainly not anywhere near what they are now, and so the assistance fund helps the guys get the treatment, not necessarily for alcohol and substance abuse. That's one of the minor things, but other injuries. It helps them with transportation costs, things because the clinics sometimes are not right near where they live or stay in their hometown. And so they need transportation costs. Sometimes there's housing problems or financial assistance for utilities, medication, or other household expenses. So you have to take care of those what they call auxiliary expenses to help the athlete. Maybe it's not for the treatment itself, but to get that treatment and also to assist them to carry on with that treatment. That's very, very important. So guys, and don't have the money really, and basically they're living on their funds if they're on retirement, which they would be, but it's not enough to take care of all the extra costs that comes up that the Gridiron Greats Assistance Funds helps them with.
Before we close, I wanted to ask about a personal honor you got. 2004, you get the call. You're elected to the Hall of Fame. Not a bad Hall of Fame class. Bob Brown, Barry Sanders, John Elway. People have heard of them before. Yourself. Perhaps the coolest part, your son Regis was your presenter. What was it like not only to get the call and go in, but to have your son present you for that special honor?
Oh, man, that was great. And it was great for him, too. He was really happy to do that. You grow up with your kids, and it took a long time. I waited for a number of years to get into the hall. And he brought back some memories that we had gone through just the time of waiting for the call. But to have him do that was just exciting. He's such a great young man. He's now involved in some of the stuff in the league. But I was so proud of him, and I've been proud of all of my kids. But that was just a big honor for me to have him do that.
You've been inducted into several Hall of Fames over the course of your career, well deserved. Of your time in the NFL, what's your fondest memory of playing for the Minnesota Vikings?
Well, you mentioned Bob Brown. Now, this is an interesting story because Bob Brown and I were the same age, and he played at Nebraska, and he was a tough guy in college, all the way from in Minnesota. He was just an adversary, and so I played against him in college, which was kind of the early part of the season. It wasn't part of the Big Ten, but so we played each other, and he was at Nebraska, like I said, and I was in Minnesota. So we played there, and then he went to Philadelphia before he played on the West Coast, and I played against him there. He was a big offensive tackle, and we went into the Hall of Fame the same year. So Bob Brown and I have been on some of the other teams at the end, All-American teams or whatever. But our careers really parallel each other's careers, and we became really good friends. And I'm a good friend of Bob's still. Boy, he was a tough competitor. Some of my toughest bouts were against him during the whole time. I couldn't get rid of him. But he's a good guy, didn't take the cheap shots at you. And so I'm a real good friend of Bob's, and he deserves all the honors he's got. But it's ironic that we all shared the same dates. He went in the same time as that did into the Hall of Fame.
All right, but be honest with us. Who got the better of most of those matches, you or Bob Brown?
Okay, one deal was, so Bob, you a play guy, you know a guy, and we were playing the Rams, and I can't remember who the quarterback was, and I kind of knew what he was going to do. And so on one of my great moves is kind of part of the question he asked, that okay, I faked to Bob like I was going to go inside, and tackle. I wish I could remember the quarterback, but it'll come to you. And I made this move like I was going to go inside, and Bob went for that, Until the quarterback saw this move, he thought that was going to go inside and Bob would hook me, really. And so I kind of made this move, but it didn't go through that. It didn't go outside. And so the quarterback scooted to the outside, and they were really deep in the end zone. And I made it a sack, and got the safety, which was a big 2-point conversion at that time for us because it helped us win the game. So it was a big play. But that was probably my favorite play during my career.
All right, sack and safety, probably the best place that we can leave it with you. PorkRindAppreciationDay.com is the website. Carl Eller, thank you for everything that you're doing to help make sure that people who played the game for us to watch get the care and treatment that they deserve.
Well, I appreciate having me on, and it is a big thing, so I'm glad to do it. But thank you. It's necessary to have you involved with this. PorkRindAppreciationDay.com. See more information. Thank you.
You have a great day.